I want to teach you about a technique called pattern interrupt. Specifically, we're going to learn about the dentist's phone number. Now, this is really a story about Joe, who has OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, which means he has behaviors he has to do or he's going to feel really anxious. Specifically, the behavior for him is that he has to check his shoelaces 25 times every day to make sure they're perfectly tied. Now, if we're going to interrupt this pattern, let me stop for a second and teach you a little bit about pattern interrupts. Everything around us is made up of patterns. A triangle is made up of a pattern of lines, 3 lines to be precise. If we take that triangle and remove one of those 3 lines, we no longer have a triangle. And that basically is the idea of pattern interrupt. So here we have Joe. He has OCD. His OCD is made of patterns. One of his patterns is his thoughts. Another part of his pattern is his biology. A third part of his pattern is his emotions or energy. Now we need to come in and interrupt these patterns. He's tried to do it before by changing his thoughts using cognitive therapy, but he knows his thoughts are crazy, so he couldn't really change them. He's tried to change his biology, but he doesn't like the feeling of the meds, so we're left with changing his emotions or changing his energy. Here's what we're going to do specifically. We're going to teach him how to laugh at his fears. And by laughing at his fears, we're going to change the direction of his energy from a collapse feeling to a feeling of flow. And when we do that, and by doing that, 1 week later, Joe comes back and he reports he is feeling free and happy. His compulsion with his shoes, gone. Let's slow things down a second and look at how we did that. Well, what we did was we changed the direction of the energy. All emotions are energy, and they have a direction to them. Negative emotions collapse our energy, where positive emotions help us feel and create flow. With Joe, he would get fearful, and that collapsed his energy. And then he'd get angry or hate himself for it, which just collapsed his energy again. And it did nothing to interrupt his pattern, because his energy was going in the same direction. It goes to my golden rule. You can't hate your way to happiness. It's like trying to go east by heading west. It takes us in 2 different directions. So here we have Joe and his OCD. We got to think of a way to make him laugh or to use humor, because that way it's going to interrupt the energy, change the direction. We needed to discover what was at the core of his fears. And as we discussed it, what we found out was that he was afraid he was going to trip on his shoelaces and break his teeth. So what we decided to do was we're going to take his dentist's phone number and put it inside his shoe. Kind of like Steve Martin would talk about, as he would stick bologna in his shoe to help him feel funny. Well, Joe took this idea 1 step further, and he actually wrote with a marker, permanent marker, in his shoe, his dentist's phone number. And what that did was it made him smile. It made him laugh every time he thought about his shoe. And what would happen is that the first day or the first 2 days, he would check his shoelaces like he always did, but this time he would smile every time he did it. And after the 3rd or 4th day, what would happen, like we saw at the end of the week, is that he just didn't care anymore. And so pretty soon he felt free and happy, and his compulsion was gone. Thanks so much for learning about pattern interrupts. And you've been learning about patterning, a new positive psychology. I'm Brett Williams, and I hope you come back for more. Take care.